All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're talking about something that's the complete opposite of that cheap hustle culture you see everywhere. You know, the gurus telling you to add more, build more, do more. Forget all that. We're going to explore the raw power of strategic violence, the ruthless elimination of everything that isn't absolutely essential. This is all about getting to elite focus by subtracting, not by adding.
Let's kick things off with a statement that should hit you like a splash of cold water. Why is this true? I mean, think about it. Society loves to praise scattered ambition, right? But the hard truth is, the laws of biology and the brutal reality of the marketplace, they only reward one thing: absolute mastery. And that takes a level of focus most people just aren't willing to commit to.
So, here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start by diagnosing the core problem. Then we'll get into the hard neuroscience behind it. After that, we'll break down the exact protocols used by some absolute titans of industry. And finally, we're going to confront the psychological traps that keep every one of us from achieving that true, deep focus.
Okay, first things first. Let's start by just completely dismantling the biggest lie of modern productivity. It's this delusion that doing more things at once somehow makes you more effective. It doesn't. It just makes you weaker. And this right here, this perfectly captures the whole conflict. On one side, you've got the modern myth, the hustler, juggling a million tasks, just a tangled mess of scattered ambition. But on the other side, that's what the world actually rewards: the clean, focused, lethal power of a single, mastered objective. Look, the world doesn't pay you for making 20% progress on 5 different goals. No way. It pays for 100% mastery of one.
Let's be crystal clear about the science here. Your brain is physically incapable of doing task A and task B at the same time. What feels like multitasking is actually your brain just burning precious energy to rapidly switch between them, kind of like a spark jumping a gap. This isn't a skill, it's a deeply inefficient process that comes with a seriously heavy cognitive cost. You know, this ancient proverb just perfectly nails the whole problem. Divided attention leads to zero results. Plain and simple. By trying to catch everything, you end up with absolutely nothing. The real takeaway here is choosing which rabbit you're willing to completely ignore so you can pour all your energy into catching the one that actually matters.
So, let's get into the hard science behind why this happens. This isn't just about feeling distracted. We're talking about a measurable cognitive impairment called attention residue, and it sabotages your performance every single time you switch your focus.
This is the key concept, first identified by a researcher named Dr. Sophie Leroy. So when you switch from, say, writing a report to answering a quick email, your brain doesn't just make a clean break. Nope, a piece of your cognitive horsepower, your attention, gets left behind, literally stuck on the report. So you're now trying to operate on this new task with a lagging engine. And this number you're looking at, this is the devastating real-world cost. Research from UC Irving found it takes, on average, 23 minutes and 15 seconds to get back into a state of deep focus after just one interruption. Just think about that for a second. Every single notification, every quick question costs you nearly half an hour of your peak cognitive performance. The damage is real, it's quantifiable, and it's severe. You can see it right here in the chart. We're talking a productivity loss of up to 40%. Your error rate spikes. Your ability to learn and retain information just plummets. This isn't a trade-off, it's a full-blown cognitive disaster.
So, how in the world do we fight back against this? Well, we start with a strategy from one of history's masters of capital and focus, Warren Buffett. And this isn't about better organization or a new app, it's about ruthless prioritization.
Now here's the core, kind of counterintuitive insight. Your biggest threat isn't your bad ideas, it's your pretty good ones. You know, those maybe someday projects, those interesting side hustles, they are the most dangerous because they're just seductive enough to justify stealing your focus away from the one thing that could actually change your life.
And the protocol itself? It's brutally simple. First, you list everything you want to accomplish, all your top 25 goals. Then, you force yourself to make a hard choice. You circle the 5 that matter the most. The 5 that, if you achieved them, would make all the others kind of insignificant. And then, here's the most important step. You take a pen and you cross out the other 20.
And this is the punchline. Those other 20 goals, they're not your work on them in your spare time list. They are now your enemy. They have to be actively, even violently, rejected. They get zero time, zero energy, zero attention. Not until you've crushed your top 5. You have to be willing to slaughter your good ideas to make room for the truly great ones.
All right, now for the second half of this strategy, and this one comes from Steve Jobs. So if Buffett taught us what to choose, Jobs taught us the incredible power of what we reject.
This is such a crucial point. True focus isn't an act of affirmation, it's actually an act of elimination. It's having the discipline to see 100 other attractive opportunities, 100 other good ideas, and having the conviction to say no, no, and no again so that you can give a universe of yes to the one thing that truly matters.
And look, this isn't just some philosophy. It's a battle-tested business strategy. You can see it in the table. When Jobs came back to a nearly bankrupt Apple in 1997, it had this bloated line of 350 products and was losing $1 billion. So what did he do? He took a machete to it. He cut it down to just a handful of core products. And the result after just 1 year? That $1 billion loss flipped to a $300 million profit.
And this just brilliantly illustrates the entire mindset. You see, the amateur thinks that progress comes from adding more features, more goals, more habits. But the master, the conqueror, understands that true power comes from stripping everything away until only the most essential, most potent element is left. Innovation is subtraction.
All right, let's get to the final and maybe the most uncomfortable piece of this whole protocol. We have to talk about the psychological safety net that basically guarantees we'll never push hard enough, the backup plan. And this isn't just my opinion, it's actually based on research. A study from the University of Wisconsin found that the simple act of creating a plan B can actively harm your chances of succeeding with plan A. So why is that? Because it subtly lowers your commitment.
Now I know what you're probably thinking. Wait a minute, this goes against everything we're taught about being prudent and managing risk. But we're not talking about prudence here. We're talking about achieving goals that demand extraordinary effort, and for those kinds of goals, common sense can actually be a trap.
So here's how it works psychologically. A plan B is just an emotional safety net. It whispers to your subconscious, hey, it's okay if this doesn't work out. We've got a comfortable alternative waiting. And that right there, that kills your desire for success. So the second you hit real, agonizing resistance, and you will, your brain knows there's an escape hatch. And guess what? It's going to pull that emergency brake.
Okay, let's bring this all together now. This isn't just a random collection of tips. It's a cohesive protocol for completely rewiring your approach to achievement.
Here is your plan of attack. First, accept the biological reality that multitasking is a total myth. Second, use the 5-25 rule to identify and destroy your most seductive distractions, your so-called good ideas. Third, adopt that Steve Jobs mindset. Innovation is subtraction. And finally, have the guts to burn your backup plans and force total commitment to your primary objective.
Look, this isn't just some intellectual exercise. This is a call to action. You now have the blueprint used by some of the most focused and successful people in history. So the only question that's left is, what are you willing to sacrifice? What will you eliminate today to make room for victory?